Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. There are minor spoilers in this video, so beware! If you haven't noticed, it's February, and there are a lot of romance films coming out. A sea of handsome men trying to woo beautiful women in ways that would be considered stalking in real life. Normally I avoid romance movies, but there wasn't much else to watch today, and I thought, what the hell? Let's give love a chance. Blech. Today's movie, Your Place or Mine, takes a standard deviation from the normal romance routine to show us two friends spending time living in each other's shoes and realizing along the way that they're in love. The movie was written and directed by Aline Brosh McKenna and stars Ashton Kutcher as Peter and Reese Witherspoon as Debbie. They met during a one-night stand, but Peter rejected Debbie afterward, and thus they became close friends. It starts with a flashback to their first meeting and then returns to the present where Debbie and Peter are discussing Debbie's upcoming trip. She is going to New York and staying at Peter's place while she finishes a course. When her babysitter cancels, Peter, who's in between jobs, flies across the country to look after Debbie's son, Jack, played by Wesley Kimmel, while Debbie finishes school. The movie spends the majority of its time flipping back and forth between Debbie and Peter's storylines and then brings them together at the very end for the climax. Both storylines are rehashed cliches that come out rushed and half-written. Debbie learns about Peter's feelings and aspirations by snooping through his things while also attending classes and hanging out at expensive bars, and meeting new people, while Peter takes over Debbie's parental duties and tries to take a new approach to raising Jack. He's been a parent for all of 5 seconds and he's got some big new ideas to get him some friends and make him into a cooler kid. He spends time with the boy while learning how naive he is about parenting. Each of them has their own personal sidekick that they spend most of their time with. Peter gets Tig Notaro's usual comedic relief character, this time with the name Alicia. She's one of the better parts of the movie and usually has a few good lines every time she's on screen. She's there purely to make jokes and act as a sounding board for Kutcher, but she plays the role well. On the other side of the film, we have Debbie's sidekick Minka, who is played by Zoe Chow. Like Notaro, she plays comedic relief, which she nails, but she's also the world's greatest wingman. She introduces Debbie to a handsome bachelor, talks her up, and then literally gives him her phone number. Debbie's journey as an awkward woman finds confidence in herself as she dares to dream story that actually does include a decent romance, just not with Kutcher. Along the way, she meets Jesse Williams, playing a sharply dressed CEO who published some of her favorite books. The two hit it off and sparks fly as they connect. Of course, this is so the film can activate its trope card. The woman realizes she's in love because she can't stop thinking about the other guy while she's with this smoke show who's perfect for her trope. Peter, on the other hand, tries to approach parenting with his superficial ways, and when it backfires in one of the most cringe-inducing ways possible, he finally has to grow up and start being a little bit more responsible. He does have one good idea for Jack, and he does manage to get the kid to open up, but the relationship between them just feels kind of forced. Peter also interacts with Debbie's creepy stalker Zen, who the movie uses as a weird joke. He's around all the time, seemingly living in Debbie's yard, but only Peter seems to get how weird it is. When we're finally given more info about Zen, he's actually as bad as it seems, and yet the movie still just glosses over it. The movie spends an hour and a half with Debbie and Peter learning about each other and going through their own respective journeys, but it never spends any time on the romance between them. We get one scene of them bumping uglies at the beginning and showing off a decent bit of chemistry, and then we don't see them together again until the very end of the movie. The film's makers must have realized how unromantic it is, because they tried to placate the lack of romance by having Kutcher and Witherspoon speak to each other over the phone constantly, and cut together the shots to make it look like they were together. Each of them is in their respective room, but sliced together in the middle. It doesn't work, and the romance between them makes very little sense. They might be good friends, but imagining them together is hard given how different they are as people. He's carefree and reckless, and she's the type of person to micromanage you while following every rule to the letter. The only time they're ever together, all they're doing is banter and flirting. But when they finally meet in the end, both of them are terrible at communicating. The two of them getting together felt forced, and they didn't actually resolve any of the issues they had prior to that. She was still mad at him, and she still hadn't apologized for invading his privacy, going behind his back, and putting his business out into the world. They both had ample reason to be mad at each other, and during the climactic meeting, the conversation goes from them yelling at each other to them kissing and talking about love so fast that my neck still hurts from the whiplash. Kutcher is his usual self, goofy, charismatic, and doing his best self-deprecation routine. There was zero chemistry between him and Witherspoon apart from the beginning, and really they just banter well together. His callousness works well for the jokes at the beginning, and he plays the oblivious rich guy well, but his storyline with the kid was boring and cringe. It was obvious where it was going, and even Kutcher's charisma can't save it. Witherspoon plays a controlling, quirky mom. She dotes on her son and plans out every detail of both of their lives. She comes off as the nicest Karen you've ever met, and yet she still seems like she would call the cops on you for breaking a bylaw. She has great chemistry with Jesse Williams and seems genuinely swept up in the romance with him, but her continued interest in Peter comes off as a bit forced. Production-wise, the film puts out crisp, nice-looking visuals filled with expensive, well-designed sets and a sea of fashionable outfits. Everyone is done up in their best, with their makeup done. Everyone from the security guards to the coach. There are a lot of standard shots of people talking with a few shots of the leads having a conversation being spliced together in the middle. They don't attempt anything complex, but it works for the film. Sound-wise, the film is rather quiet and doesn't utilize the soundtrack to an effective degree. There are a few of Cars songs played here and there in the beginning to show how much Peter loves that band, so he can make a speech about it later, and a few short bursts of an original song here and there, but 95% of the film is silent. They almost exclusively use music to cover over montages and transitions, and never play more than 20 seconds of the song. Oh, the weirdo living in Debbie's yard also plays his guitar a few times too. He makes up new lyrics for famous tunes. Overall, I found the movie slightly comedic, but a terrible romance story. The leads spend the majority of the film apart, and the film tries to play off the adage, absence makes the heart grow fonder, but it really just exposes a bad relationship and gives the people in it a happy ending. It's lame and feels like someone's personal fantasies. They haven't thought out all of the journey, they're just focusing on the reward they're going to get for going through it. 5 out of 10.